Video opens with a slow panning shot across a dark, moody AI-generated reconstruction of medieval Prague. The sky is overcast, and the lighting is dramatic, reminiscent of a Rembrandt painting. The camera slowly zooms in on a window in Prague Castle, in the grand tapestry of European history. Woven with threads of epic battles and royal decrees, some threads are stranger than others. There are moments, seemingly bizarre and almost comical, that unexpectedly unravel the entire fabric, setting in motion events that would reshape the continent forever. Our story begins not on a battlefield, but at a window, high in Prague Castle. This is the story of a fall that would trigger a war, and how a single act of defiance, cloaked in absurdity, defined the soul of a nation and echoes even into our present day. The scene transitions to show interiors of the castle. We see animated figures in 17th century attire, their faces grim. The atmosphere is tense. The narrator's voice is calm but carries a sense of foreboding. The year is 1618. Europe is a powder keg. The Protestant Reformation has shattered the religious unity of the Old World, and the Catholic Habsburg Empire, rulers of the Holy Roman Empire, is pushing back. In the Kingdom of Bohemia, what we now know as the Czech Republic, the people have long cherished their religious freedoms, granted by a royal charter. But their new king, Ferdinand II, is a devout Catholic with little patience for heretics. He begins to chip away at their rights, closing Protestant churches, censoring their texts. The air grows thick with resentment. The scene focuses on a group of Protestant noblemen, their faces animated with righteous anger, marching through the castle corridors. On May 23rd, the Bohemian nobility decided they had had enough. Led by the fiery Count Thurn, they marched to Prague Castle to confront the king's representatives, the imperial regents. They weren't seeking a debate, they were seeking justice. They stormed the council chambers, where they found two of the regents, Jaroslav Borita of Martinus and Willem Slavata of Clem, along with their secretary. A heated argument erupted. Accusations flew. The nobles declared the regents enemies of the state and guilty of violating their sacred rights. And then they enacted a sentence that was both terrifying and uniquely Bohemian. Dramatic slow-motion sequence begins. The nobles seize the two regents and their secretary. We see their terrified faces as they are dragged towards a large open window. They threw them out the window. This was the second defenestration of Prague. The word defenestrate, meaning to throw someone from a window, was practically invented for this city's political habits. Now, imagine this. You're 70 feet up. The ground rushes to meet you. This should have been a death sentence, a brutal execution to spark an immediate bloody reprisal. But history, like life, is full of strange twists. All three men survived the fall. Catholic accounts claimed they were gently lowered to the ground by angels, a sign of God's divine favor. The more grounded Protestant version, they landed in a large pile of manure that had conveniently accumulated in the castle moat. A moment of visual irony. A beautiful ethereal light shines down on the figures landing in a very undignified pile of refuse. The music swells with a mix of drama and a hint of dark humor. Angels or manure. The result was the same. The regents lived, but the line had been crossed. The act itself, this bizarre, almost theatrical display of rebellion, was an unforgivable insult to the authority of the Holy Roman Emperor. There was no going back. That fall from a castle window was the single spark that ignited the 30 Years' War, one of the most destructive conflicts in human history. For 3 decades, Europe was consumed by fire, famine, and bloodshed. Entire regions were depopulated, and the political and religious map of the continent was redrawn forever. The visuals shift to a montage of epic, dark, AI-generated scenes of war. Armies marching, cities burning, fields littered with the fallen. The music becomes more epic and tragic. The war that followed was a catastrophe. It wasn't just a war of religion anymore. It became a brutal struggle for power between the great houses of Europe. Millions perished. The Kingdom of Bohemia paid a terrible price for its defiance. Its nobility was crushed, its freedoms revoked, and its identity suppressed for nearly 300 years under Habsburg rule. The dream of an independent, tolerant Bohemia seemed to die in the mud and blood of the war they had started. But did it? The visuals transition from historical scenes to modern-day Prague. We see the bustling Charles Bridge, the astronomical clock, and the defiant statue of Jan Hus in the old town square. The lighting is now warmer, more hopeful. A story doesn't end just because a battle is lost. The spirit of defiance, that willingness to stand up to overwhelming power, even in a way that seems desperate or strange, became embedded in the Czech national character. The defenestration of Prague wasn't just a historical event, it became a symbol of resistance against tyranny. It's a story told not with pride for the violence, but with a fierce appreciation for the courage it took to say no. The camera pans across the faces of modern Czechs, then back to the window at Prague Castle, now a tourist attraction. Centuries later, in 1918, after the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in World War I, Czechoslovakia was born. In 1968, Czechs stared down Soviet tanks during the Prague Spring. In 1989, the Velvet Revolution peacefully overthrew a communist regime. In each of these moments, you can feel the echo of 1618. The echo of a people who, time and again, have chosen to confront power, not always with armies, but with an unbreakable will. Final sweeping shots of Prague at sunset. The mood is reflective and powerful. So, what is the lesson from a 400-year-old story about 3 men being thrown from a window? It's that history is not just a sequence of dates and names. It's a human story. It teaches us that sometimes the most profound changes begin with a single audacious act. It reminds us that even in defeat, the spirit of courage can endure for centuries, shaping the soul of a nation and inspiring future generations. The defenestration of Prague is a dark, strange, and powerful reminder that sometimes, to change the world, you have to be willing to do the unthinkable, and that the fight for freedom, once begun, never truly ends. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you found this story as fascinating as we do, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more hidden histories. We'll see you next time.